In this session, we are going to look at the concept of predictive analytics with AI. Now, the concept of AI, artificial intelligence, obviously opens up a whole host of opportunities to scale. And of course, if you couple that with predictions and forecasting, you have a very potent mix that will enable you to identify many, many more opportunities for your marketing and communications and business opportunities more generally than you might ever have envisaged with something more manual or human. So let's begin with a definition of predictive analytics. What do we actually mean by that? Well, in essence, really, it's the practice of using data, statistical algorithms, and in essence, really here with AI, machine learning techniques to identify the likelihood of future outcomes that are based on historical data. In other words, it's looking backwards to be able to look forwards. Quite a simple concept, really, but what it does is it enables businesses to anticipate market trends, maybe customer behaviors, potential risks, but ultimately allows for proactive decision making. So it allows you to make evidence-based decisions based on the things that have happened in the past that give you a propensity to have confidence that they may well occur in the future. Now, this is obviously no guarantee, but it does give you the confidence that when you're making decisions based around predictive analytics, that you are probably taking a safer bet than gut feeling or intuition or just taking a leap of faith. A real world example would be, for example, Etsy, who use predictive analytics to optimize their search and recommendation algorithms. And often, we've seen these play out across a number of online retailers. Now, in essence, what these are doing, they're improving the customer experience and ultimately increasing conversion rates because they tailor results to individual customers or users of those platforms. And so they're using these algorithms to put in front of you as a customer the things that you are most likely, based on historical evidence of people just like you, to buy. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to buy, but it gives you statistical probability that you are more likely to. And so that's what we're playing with here. It's the likelihood of things happening in the future based on historic patterns. Now, the word patterns is really important here because we're looking at trends. Okay, so if you're making decisions based on a fixed point or based on a single piece of data, it's not really giving you the nuance that a trend does. A trend is a pattern or movement in the market, in behavioral patterns, in the sense of how a market or a sector is growing or declining, and industry developments, economic shifts at a macro level. And understanding trends helps you and your business to adapt to changing markets, to innovate your product offerings, and ultimately maintain a competitive edge. So if you can spot the trends as a human being, as a marketer, as a communicator, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you stand more of a chance of leveraging those trends, either to avoid risk and stop doing stuff or reduce doing stuff, or to maximize the opportunity that you're seeing. So this can go in one or two directions. It can either be, reducing things to reduce the downside, or it can be looking at things that are on a growth trajectory and then actually optimizing those potentially better than your competition. And we saw this play out. Another good example here is Zoom, who capitalized on the remote working trend through the pandemic and rapidly scaled their infrastructure in response to the trends that they were seeing. And that was driven by predictive insights into market demand. Now, you could say, well, wasn't that really obvious? But what they did is they created the trend data. They looked deeply into the algorithms with the kinds of service offerings that they had available in their product development pipeline and rapidly got those things to market far, far quicker because of those market trends. So it allows you to kind of scale up or accelerate where you need to and where it's appropriate, or maybe draw back the timeline, or maybe reprioritize from what you see. So hugely, hugely powerful. So where do we kind of see these things emerging then? So we've got this kind of predictive analytics thing going on. We've got these market trends or these business trends or these customer behavioral trends, and we will see this, play out across all the different data sets. So what are the components of predictive analytics? Where can you find this stuff? Well, the key components come in four basic areas. And so what I would suggest is that you begin to think about maybe some of the ways that you currently do this within your work. Or if you don't do this or you're not aware that it's happening within your organization, maybe these are conversations to begin. First thing is data collection, gathering relevant data from various reliable, and there's a really key word here, reliable sources. So where are you gathering your data from? And what data are you gathering? There's no point in gathering irrelevant data, and there's no point in gathering data that's not from a reliable source. So think about data collection. That is obviously key. Think about how you're going to be analyzing that data. What kind of algorithms are you putting in there? We're going to talk in a little while about some of the statistical algorithms that you can be using. But the obvious ones where you look into this and do some research are things like regression analysis, clustering, decision trees, ways of actually formulating some kind of pattern or understanding of that data. So this stuff can go on magically and scientifically in the background. You don't necessarily have to do this yourself. There are many programs, many softwares, and of course now, as we're going to talk about, AI that can help you with this. And from that data, from machine learning models, so you could be talking here ChatGPT at a very base level here, algorithms are there available for you to learn from the data to make predictions. So at a very simple level, you could plug in a simple little spreadsheet from some data that you've gathered into ChatGPT. Others are available, but I'll just keep using ChatGPT because obviously it's everywhere and we're all using it. And you plug that in and you say, can you show me at a very, very simple level from the data you're seeing and the trends that you can extrapolate from this data, some of the patterns that you're seeing, can you make some predictions about what is most likely statistically to happen next month based on this data? And can you talk to me in real language? Can you actually tell me? Don't give me lots of reports and lots of algorithms. Talk to me in a language that makes sense to me to help me to prioritize my activities next month. And so the data analysis, the fourth component of predictive analytics, is interpreting those results to inform strategic decisions. So let's unpick that just for a moment. Interpreting the results, that's evaluation. Okay, there's a key word here. This is about evaluating what you see, not reporting into the business or just, riding off the back of the data and saying, hey, I'm a marketer, I'm a business owner, whatever my role is. I've got loads of data. Look at me, aren't I clever? It's about evaluating, interpreting what you see. And then here, the key bit is to inform strategic decisions. Strategy being that longer term view, that longer term kind of vision to the horizon, maybe beyond the horizon, that visible horizon that you can see in front of your business or your organization, informing decisions that are going to help to guide you on that path into the future. So this is important stuff. Yes, it can be there for tactical decisions. It can be there to help you prioritize what you're going to do today, even. Of course it can. But also there, informing strategic decisions can be a really key thing. So who are using these things? Where do we see these things play out? Well, another really nice example is DHL, for example, an organization that has billions of combinations of data within its organization. And DHL Express uses predictive analytics to forecast shipment volumes, optimizing, of course, the allocation of resources. And you can imagine in an organization like that, resource allocation and operational infrastructure is absolutely key. But predictive analytics has helped them improve delivery lead times by 15%. And this is interesting. This is really interesting. There's a clear ROI here, a return on investment in this stuff. It's not just informing the decisions. It's not just making you more aware of actually what's going on within your business. It's actually delivering a bottom line result. Because if you can be evaluating from these insights, from these trends, and making key decisions that drive better business, either reducing cost or maybe growing revenue at the top end here, or maybe both even, wouldn't that be nice? And after all, we're all looking for that, both ends of the equation, then you will see an ROI, a return on your investment in time and energy in this area. So there's a financial benefit of doing this stuff. So, okay, so you've got a few kind of sources of information, and now you're starting to build a picture of the reasons why you'd want to do this and some of the how you can begin to do it. Now you want to delve down a little bit deeper into the, okay, well, what am I going to do next? Well, we're going to start to look at some of the tools now, the AI tools for predictive analytics. So these are tools that will enable you to plug some stuff in at the front end, so some data, and to see then some kind of insights or analysis going on inside, and then some recommendations, some evaluation coming out the other end. Two that I want to highlight for you. One is called RapidMiner and the other is BigML. So RapidMiner is an open source data science platform providing predictive analytics that allows typically small to medium-sized businesses to develop advanced models without extensive coding knowledge. So this is developed by scientists for non-scientists. A lot of the times when you do research into tools like this, you get the big guys, the big kind of corporates developing systems and processes for fellow corporates or enterprises. Now, most of us, and it is most of us in business, do not work for large multinational enterprises. We work for small to medium-sized businesses. But now with AI tools, it is at our level too. So this is not just us being precluded out of this big game. We can now play the game too. And BigML focuses on making machine learning easy to use. It offers a range of predictive analytics services, including anomaly detection, time series forecasting, and clustering. So you can go deep down into segmentation here. So if you're seeing particular areas of your business, maybe particular customer groups that you focus and target, behaving or acting in different ways, and you're seeing a trend emerge from maybe your high-level analytics, this is where you can use an AI tool to go much, much deeper. You can detect anomalies. Why is this happening with this particular customer group, with this particular product, maybe at this time in the year? Is there a seasonality thing that I need to spot? All of these things can be identified and analyzed and interpreted and evaluated using tools like this. So it's becoming a very accessible thing. This is, and I find myself using this phrase a lot at the moment, this is kind of the perfect storm where AI tools are coming in to almost save the rest of us who have not been privy to some of these larger, big kind of corporate tools. Even some of the bigger players, Sephora, for example, a great example here of an organization who uses RapidMiner. They're currently analyzing customer data and predicting product trends. And this, of course, then enhances their inventory management, reduces stockouts, makes it more customer focused. As an organization, they've got the right products in front of the right customers at the right time, and they're using predictive analytics to be able to do this. So they're forecasting based on accurate, reliable historic data coming from within their CRM, coming from their customer reporting, plugging it into something like RapidMiner and seeing some returns coming out of the other side. So whether or not you go, and I'm not incentivized, I promise you, in any way to recommend these kinds of tools specifically, but if you go down this route with these guys or with something equivalent, and if you do your own searching, you'll come up with some alternatives too, I'm sure. If you go down this route, it's about spending some quality time with these tools, thinking about the kinds of data and the kind of questions that you have from that kind of data that you have available to you, and running through some test cases. This is where it's going to get really, really interesting for you. So as you start to collect and manage the data, we need to identify a few steps really for kind of pulling some of this data together to feed into these platforms. So some steps, some early steps that you could identify will be to think about the data sources. Where is your data going to come from? I've already mentioned the CRM, your customer relationship management system. Now, that could be you've got something big and hefty like Salesforce.com, for example, or you might even have it on a simple spreadsheet. It does not matter. These are your data sources. You can begin with something very, very simple. The process and the philosophy is still the same. So don't feel this doesn't apply to you. It applies to everybody who has customers. If you've got social media accounts, you've got insights from those platforms that you can feed in. If you've got transactional data, in other words, you've got time, you've got products, you've got days, you've got patterns of days and moments in time and behaviors where your customers are interacting with you, both online and offline, and maybe even third-party sources of data. So some macro trends that come through from your industry regulator or the association that is in the sector that you operate in. Maybe they've got some big reports that have got data in them. Well, wouldn't that be interesting to maybe correlate the macro data with some of the patterns that you're seeing? Maybe there'll be some stuff you can unlock in there. But just pause just for a moment. Imagine doing that on a manual human basis. Imagine you haven't got any tools. Imagine you haven't got AI to help you. Just how long do you think it would take to spot a pattern? Well, if you're anything like me, I'm relatively familiar with numbers. I'm relatively good on a spreadsheet, but it would probably take me a lifetime, if not more, to be able to spot trends and patterns, really true trends and patterns that are reliable, that would enable me to make strategic decisions. This is the difference that we're facing now with this perfect storm. We can do this in a matter of seconds. That's the exciting bit. As long as, of course, we go to step 2, which is ensuring data quality. We do need to implement data cleansing to remove any inaccuracies. So take a view on your data, maybe even using something like ChatGPT or other tools are available to actually cleanse the data, removing duplicate copies of content or information, for example. Making sure as well that wherever we're going to store or use this data, it is flexible, it's scalable within a cloud-based solution that is reliable and secure. And particularly this applies, and you'll know this if you are responsible for customer data. You will know that you have to be storing any kind of customer records very, very securely. So it doesn't mean that you can just plug any information straight into an AI and off you go and the world is great. If you're responsible for customer information that could be potentially quite commercially sensitive information, you need to stop and pause and think before plugging that into open source AI. Okay, so this is not a free-for-all. This is not somewhere where you can think, oh, I can just throw all of my CRM data into an AI and it'll be safe, it'll be fine. We genuinely do not know. So think about the protection of the data before you start to roll it out. That's one of the key steps, the security of the data that you're holding. But if it is not particularly sensitive and if it is more directional than absolute, so you don't necessarily have names and email addresses associated with it, but you've got numbers that give you directionally a trend, then that would be fine, probably, as long as it's not commercially sensitive within your sector. And then you might want to also include step 4, which is some kind of tool to segment. So customer data platform that collects, cleans, and controls customer data across multiple touch points in a segmented way. So it might well be that you decide, actually, I'm going to compare this definition of data from this definition of a particular customer persona with this group over here, because these guys are, I think, just intuitively behaving differently. I think they're buying different products and services, or we interact with them in a different way. Let's see if we can see and predict something about the differences that we're seeing. So you can do this at a segment or customer level, which might open up some really interesting stuff. And this is the kind of thing that, again, just another example for you that Airbnb are using. They're segmenting to streamline data collection processes. So this, of course, for them then will enable more accurate predictive modeling for demand forecasting and also, importantly, personalized customer experiences. Because if you're doing this for one particular customer segment and you see a pattern that is very different to segment 2 or 3 or 4 over there, then you can actually serve those different segments in a different way. So the evaluation then plays out in terms of customer journey, in terms of content management and strategy, in terms of customer experience. And of course, we know that that leads on to personalization as a big overarching word. And we know statistically that can drive higher ROI, because who doesn't want to get a personalized experience? So you can see how these kind of things, they have a knock-on effect, the domino effect. This is the behind the scenes stuff that can empower you to be doing just better and better and better marketing going forward. Now, there's a little bit of science that comes in here, and here's the little caveat, I'm not a statistician, but we do have a number of key techniques that you can ask if you want your AIs to be using to analyze and to interpret and to evaluate the data. You can be using probability, you can be using a whole range of different, high dimensional statistics to be able to then predict and give you a sense of reliability of the outputs. And these are the kinds of things that are inherently inbuilt into the kinds of services that we're talking about here, these machine learning algorithms that are going to be embedded within things like ChatGPT and elsewhere. So we don't have to become statisticians to be able to operate these kinds of services. But if it is something you want to go deeper into, again, great example is Blue Apron in the US using Bayesian inference, which is a statistical technique to fine-tune customer retention strategies. And this allows them to predict which customers are most likely to cancel subscriptions before they do, so they can take preemptive action. Now, wouldn't that be cool? If you can imagine that you've got a bunch of subscribers in one particular customer segment who, because of the statistical reliance that you have on the data that serves those particular customers with product recommendations, with particular special offers, you can actually then skew the conversation or the communication in such a way that you actually can predict and serve them with content that helps them not even to get to the sort of the point of thought where they might consider cancelling, but you actually take them off the scent of that thought process in advance, preemptively giving them things that will keep them sweet before they even start to think for themselves that they might be wishing to cancel. This is deep stuff. This is kind of empowering your psychological marketing. Now, you could say, well, isn't this really manipulative? But of course, if you do this on an honest and authentic way, then why would they want to go to somewhere else? Why would they want to go to a competitor or to cancel? So this is the beauty of this kind of predictive analytics, is it enables you to make these early judgments, these early calls. So you don't face the challenges of having to get out of jail free, or you don't face those challenges of having to do stuff to kind of mitigate a particular problem that's already happened. You can strike in advance. So a lot of these kind of statistical models will enable you to do these things way before these moments happen. And this is where the machine learning models come in. This is where stuff actually happens and enables you to really be using deep levels of statistics, deep levels of predictive analytics behind the scenes. And of course, the models themselves, as I said right at the outset, offer very high levels of accuracy, but scalability. This is the key here, because if you were to put in a multi-page, multi-depth, sort of facet spreadsheet, for example, into something like ChatGPT, it can sort and sort of sift through multiple combinations. It can do multivariate analysis at all different levels within seconds. We would never be able to do this. So again, as a small to medium-sized business, these kinds of tools are absolutely incredible, because what they do is they enable automation of these predictions coming out without requiring any kind of statistics, coding, data modeling, or machine learning expertise. So you can do this stuff in advance to empower your business with strong decision-making opportunities that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do. Great opportunity here to look at some examples. The RealReal, a luxury consignment retailer, is using currently Data Robot to predict which items will sell quickly and at what price. And this, of course, enables them, much as some of the earlier examples, to optimize inventory and pricing strategies. So this is kind of like having a real-time dashboard. We've never really had this before. As marketers, we've kind of done this sort of stuff at a very low level in quite a passive way, or maybe in a very slow kind of tortoise pace way, maybe at the end of the month as part of our monthly reporting. What machine learning models enable us to do, using that deeply embedded statistics and this kind of really, really high level processing capability to do things in real time. Can you imagine having a dashboard that says, hey, this number of customers here, they've actually bought this product in real time. And so actually what we're seeing is now we're running low on that stock. So we're going to actually up the price of this one to slow that particular price of that particular purchase of those products down a little bit. But in consequence, actually to continue making this amount of revenue and profit this month, we're actually going to drop the price of this one because we know we've got a little bit more stock. And we'll do that automatically. We'll just kind of do that within the system. And so the pricing model then on the website shows, oh, in real time, that price has just changed. Can you imagine being able to adapt and flow so that ultimately you're working to an ROI or a profitability metric? So your key performance indicators are actual profit driven. They're not just how many followers have we got on social media or how many visitors did we get to our website. This is going deeper by 5, 6, 7 or more layers. This is exciting stuff that puts marketing at the core of not just day-to-day operations, but actually driving strategically the business forward. And forecasting market trends alongside this, because of course the data is coming in at a macro level as well as through our customer data. We can use AI to sift through very large data sets and detect even the most subtle shifts in obviously buying patterns there with the RealReal, but also market sentiment. Maybe consumer preferences, maybe emerging trends are going to come through loud and clear through these kinds of opportunities. And it will enable you to proactively adjust your strategy, your product offering, and feed all this data into your value chain, into your supply chain logistics as you go, potentially in real time. So you can see, you can preempt what's going to happen. Imagine the competitive edge that this is going to bring you. Super powerful, super engaging, really, really important stuff. Under Armour, for example, and a brand that a lot of you may well be aware of, this uses AI to analyze social media trends. So they're doing this within socials as well, enabling themselves to anticipate consumer demands and launch products that resonate with the market. So this is helping Under Armour stay relevant during shifts in consumer interest from traditional athletic wear to more lifestyle-oriented apparel. So they're seeing trends appearing in real time. They're using the forecasting capability to feed into their new product development and innovation programs, allowing themselves to prioritize in real time based on sentiment and actual product and service and customer behavior within social media. So do you see what's happening here? We're tying in so many different facets of the data that is operating and happening and moving around our organizations. It's allowing us really here, because if we want to keep a very close eye on this, if we want to be fed this almost like a NASA kind of mission control kind of dashboard in front of us to be predicting our customer behavior, Because ultimately, that's what we want to be doing here. We want to be able to predict the customer behavior because we need and want to be serving with products and servicing at the right prices, at the right time, in the right space, in the right way, using the right communications. And if we can predict what our customers are looking for in advance of even maybe them knowing it, and we've already seen that that is possible, then it puts us in the driving seat. Analyzing past purchase history, browsing behavior, social media activity, demographic information to predict future actions enables us to personalize our marketing. Dynamic pricing, of course, as we've seen there with that previous example, enables us to do targeted promotions, product recommendations at a really granular level. So if I'm on your website, I see something very different to the person over there. Or maybe if you visit your own website, you'll get presented with something slightly different because it's you, not me. This is what we're talking about here. This is predictive analytics with AI. It enables us to go down to that granular level of interaction and behavior. Really, really exciting. And can you imagine that playing out across campaigns as well, using predictive insights to determine the most effective marketing channels, maybe timing, and maybe the content, exactly the content for your campaigns. Imagine driving these kinds of things going forward rather than just, well, we did a campaign like this last year, so let's just roll it out again. That kind of completely thoughtless marketing, this is really true thoughtful marketing. It is going to improve your ROI by targeting the right message at the right audience at the right time. There's a huge amount of value here. We can just feel it, can't we? As we're kind of going through these little examples, it is just so clear how this is going to be playing out for us. Many examples, of clothing retailers. Bonobos is a good one. I mean, they use heap analytics to predict market performance, the performance of their digital marketing campaigns, enabling them to optimize their ad spend and achieve a 25% increase in conversion rates. Can you imagine having data that shows in your monthly reports that you've increased by 25% your conversion rates? That's a huge amount of ROI going to the bottom line in your campaigns. Imagine having the data to back that up rather than just, yeah, we got that number of sales. No. This is all about looking deeper at conversion rates, because with every sale comes a cost to serve that sale, a cost to identify that customer and serve them with product, service, and communication. So we're able here to actually get down right to the level of actually seeing where the success is coming from and also mitigating where the success isn't. Campaigns are there, serving customers through social. And I've mentioned briefly there, guiding product development. Can you imagine using AI-driven insights to identify market needs, forecast product demand, prioritizing features and benefits that will resonate with customers because the evidence is there from those customers? Imagine knowing that in advance at a deep, nuanced level. You're going to be able to reduce the time to market. You're going to be aligning your product portfolios and categories with customer demand. It's definitely going to be minimizing the risk of product failures. And let's face it, most of us, if we've been in product development, will have seen product failure. Stuff that you just feel intuitively is going to work and it doesn't. It falls completely flat, or it has an initial spike and then it just dies away. Well, we will know why that happened now because we will be able to predict in advance the statistical likelihood at a very granular level of what is going to happen. So it's products, it's communications, it's campaigns, it's more. It's managing risk as well using predictive analytics. We're going to be able to identify potential risks in our supply chain or our value chain. We're going to be able to watch market conditions and customer behavior, allowing us, along with our partners through our supply chains, to take preemptive measures. We don't want to be holding stock that isn't going to sell. We don't want our supply chain to be doing similar. We don't want to be buying in raw materials to create products if we know the demand isn't going to be there. We want to be timely. We want to be precise. We want to be accurate. Predictive analytics enables us to do that. We're going to mitigate our potential losses. We're going to enhance our decision-making strategically and tactically. And we're going to safeguard business operations, not just for ourselves, but everyone in our supply chain. Imagine being that organization that is just so great to do business with because they always seem to know what's coming and what's going to happen. Well, this could be you. That's what we're trying to position here. I mean, a great example is Cabbage, the fintech company, who are using predictive analytics to create, or to assess rather, the credit worthiness of small businesses that they work with, enabling faster loan approvals whilst managing the risk of defaults. Well, what a great way of doing that. They're actually using predictive analytics within the supply chain to decide who they're going to work with, as much as actually then the service that they take on beyond that. And of course, once we put all of these things into practice, and we're going to have to spend a lot of time really crafting the things that are going to be the biggest, most important things to focus on here. This is not something you can just do at the drop of a hat or just follow a checklist. You're going to need to spend time thinking and discussing with your colleagues, where are the opportunities here that we'd like to really focus in on first? We can do this across the organization, but where do we want to begin? Where do we intuitively feel the biggest opportunities are? Or where are those challenges or those risks that we want to mitigate? Those would be great starting points. And as we start to roll this out, as we start to evaluate the success of our predictive analytics, we need to kind of track accuracy of the predictions. We need to see the impact on the revenue. We need to know where we're reducing the costs. So things like improvements in customer satisfaction can also be measured. We want to be putting in KPIs where we're actually measuring the success of our predictions, because it's all very well saying, okay, we've got this accurate data coming in. Yeah, we're making some forecasts and we're evaluating from this stuff. And then we just get on with the day job. No, part of this is actually evaluating what would have happened in the old model with what are we seeing now with this new AI-driven predictive analytics evaluation, because this is where we're going to see the difference. This is the before and after. This is the A/B test or split test of how you were doing business before versus how you're doing it after. It's a really important way to show and demonstrate to your business the difference you're making. But whilst we're doing that, and certainly as part of the reporting, because once you open this up to the wider business and all your colleagues, there will be so many rooms for opportunities and people wanting to jump in. But you need, if you are going to be the evangelist or the sponsor of this in your organization, you need to be making or helping people to become aware really, really accurately of the ethical considerations, the broader privacy considerations that need to run hand in hand with this process strategically and tactically. So ensure compliance with regulations like GDPR. So anonymize the data where you can. You don't necessarily need customer data to be feeding into this to create the trends that are going to show the opportunities. You can often go by anonymous data. Try where you can to reduce bias. Regularly audit your algorithms to detect and mitigate biases. We all know that bias is inherent in any kind of data set. So think about how you're collecting, think about why you're collecting, think about where you're collecting from. And be transparent. Clearly communicate how the predictions are made and their implications. If you take and put human evaluation on the front end of this model that you're building, this predictive analytics that comes out, and then you do a human sort of interpretation and evaluation, be transparent that that's how we're doing it, because that will have in itself implications. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not judging. Your organization is your organization. You need to find a way and a balance that's going to work for you, but being transparent in how you communicate this, both internally through your supply chain and then potentially externally, because it might be something you want to release to your customers as well. The way that you are serving them with products and services could be interesting for that relationship you're building with them, so they understand. And of course, the importance there of protecting their rights, protecting their privacy will maintain trust and will help you to promote fair practice and a higher level of sustainability, if you like. I mean, this is coming to the values that you have within your organization and the culture within which you actually operate. So it's really important to make sure that all of those things are built into the ethical considerations. And there are many, many organizations now who are using predictive analytics and developing case studies that you can emulate and you can build from. So I would suggest doing a deep search, either using Google or Perplexity. I always find myself now moving towards Perplexity to kind of come up with these kind of nuanced and reliable case studies. Birchbox, for example, a subscription-based beauty box service, who's using predictive analytics, is a really interesting case study because they're personalizing product selections for each customer, improving retention and satisfaction. And the impact really that they're seeing, again, using this kind of model that we're talking about here, is increased customer lifetime value through personalization. Let's face it, all of us are looking to increase our CLV, our customer lifetime value. It is one of the key and most important KPIs that we have in marketing. And this is where this really comes out to play. So if we can find the right data sets that are going into our AI and then coming out of the other end, and then making those evaluations and those interpretations accurately and reliably, we will see ultimately the end of this. And again, if you have to sell this into your colleagues to be devoting time for data collection or consideration, then actually talking in terms of your customer lifetime value improvements will be a great way, much as Birchbox have done, to actually sell the story into the organization. Really important. And where is this all going? Because once we've done this, where are we going to see this play out? Well, we think that there are going to be some trends emerging. We're already seeing, as I said, and I've shared with you some of the examples as we've gone through this talk on predictive analytics with AI. We've already seen some great little case studies of organizations doing this stuff well, but we're also seeing some trends beginning to emerge. Increased demand for instant insights that allow for on-the-fly adjustments to marketing strategies and operations. So real-time predictive analytics, it is coming. This is something I think once you get on board with this, you will realize that if you can actually get this data, if you can actually be making these judgments in real time, you will become the most responsive marketer in your sector. What is not to like about that? Another trend as well that we're seeing is predictive maintenance. So beyond marketing, predictive analytics is being used to anticipate equipment failures, for example, in industries such as manufacturing and logistics, reducing downtime and maintenance costs. And of course, for us marketers and us in business development or sales, that is crucial because we need to know in advance where the whole of our product supply or our service availability is going to be when we start to go out there pushing it in the market to our customers. So predictive maintenance is that back office stuff that enables us to have always on availability for the things that we are marketing and selling. And that's another key trend. So we're going to see this predictive analytics through AI coming forward within the business more generally, not just communications. We're going to see as well augmented analytics, the integration of AI-driven analytics directly into business intelligence platforms. This will democratize predictive analytics for non-experts. So even if this kind of stuff is maybe going a little over our heads right now as marketers, we will see this integrated directly into our day-to-day operations through the platforms and the software that we're using. Into things like Microsoft Excel, for example. We'll see a lot more integrated analytics coming through. And so that is going to really empower the kind of macros or the kind of predictions that we're going to be able to see coming out of those sorts of platforms, those kinds of softwares. Opportunity trends that we're seeing is that businesses that embrace these trends will be better positioned to leverage AI more generally for strategic decision making. and maintaining their competitive advantages in their respective markets. I mean, I think it goes without saying that organizations who are jumping on this again with the real-time vision, if you like, that this in the future, once we kind of really figure out where predictive analytics is going to see most value in our organizations, if we can bring that to a near or actual real-time level, so we can be making moment-to-moment decisions that are very, very data-driven and really, really empowered, that is where we're going to see competitive advantage, really, really scoring. And again, of course, that is where the bottom line is truly impacted by predictive analytics with AI.